Hey crafters, welcome to a cozy sewing project. It is the cozy time of year. The weather's not amazing. The holidays are done and it's a good time to kind of stay home, hunker down, start a project. Today's project is going to be one that takes me a little while, needs a little patience. Gotta just enjoy the process, but sometimes that's a nice kind of project to tackle. So we're going to be starting off with one of my favorite fabrics, especially this time of year, and that is flannel. There's nothing else I really want to wear besides my PJ pants and sweatshirts and, cozy stuff. In an attempt to make some of these cozy fabrics a little bit more work appropriate, life appropriate, I have tackled the flannel dress project several times. I want to find a dress that will look really cute but be so comfy that it's basically like wearing PJ pants. And if you guys have checked out any of my videos, you know that I enter flannel season right about now, and that's really all I want to sew with. So that's what we're sewing with today. I'm going to be working with a great flannel remnant that I had in my stash for far too long, and it's time to turn it into something. We're also going to be working with one of my new favorite patterns for kind of a romantic style dress. It's not quite cottage-core and it's not a specifically vintage pattern, but there are definitely elements of both. It is a long dress. I'm going to be making a maxi length. It has a fitted bodice, kind of puffy sleeves. It's not super poofy and very costumey, but it's also not super casual. It's kind of a nice middle ground, and I think it's going to be perfect for this cozy flannel. Hopefully I will be making a dress that will be as cozy to wear and comfy and happy to wear as it is cute. Let me show you the fabric we're working with. Grab yourself a cup of tea, maybe light a nice cozy smelling candle, and join me for a cozy sewing adventure. Well, you guys may recognize this pattern. I've made it one time before. I think it was late summer, early fall. I was pretty excited to find this one because I was looking for a good base dress pattern that I could modify and take a lot of different directions. And I think this one's going to be a great one. There are some things that I totally love, and of course some things I totally do not love, as always, but there's a lot of potential here. I like that there are sleeve options. I will probably be going for the longer sleeve today. We have a fitted bodice. I do appreciate that there's like an A-line skirt, but it's not a super full poofy skirt. Now, of course, there are some things I'm going to be changing. I think instead of doing these buttons down the front, I think I'm going to make the bodice, the front bodice, in one piece, and then put a zipper in the back. So I'm going to have to add a little extra fabric on the back, because usually the back would just be a solid piece. I'm going to have to add a little extra fabric and make the back in two pieces so I can add a zipper. One reason for doing that is this button placket is a bit of a pain. One thing I don't like about it is that this line of buttons, has the fabric meeting directly in the middle. And then those loops and buttons connect those two panels. There isn't any overlap in the back. So you kind of have like very big gapeability in this slit going down the front. So that was one thing I had to work with the first time I tried this this project. I actually added a little panel behind the button openings just to make sure there weren't going to be any wardrobe malfunctions. So that all took a little time, and of course adding those button loops and such definitely took some time. So I'm going to be a slacker today and try to make this with a zipper option instead. That was actually something I wanted to be able to have as an option on this pattern, make it with buttons or without. And I think that will hopefully make this maybe a little more efficient for us today. Again, I'm going to be going for more of a sleeve option like this dress, but I'm going to be going for more of a full-length dress than this. And of course, making a whole bunch of modifications because we love to complicate things. The thing I do love the best about this pattern is that you have different
bodice pieces for various bust measurements. And as a curvy girl, this is so helpful. I have a very hard time doing bust adjustments on garments. I really need to learn how to do that, and I haven't yet. So this really helps. The first time I made this pattern, I did a mock-up and played around with it until I got it just the way I like it, and I love it. I love the way it fits. So that is super awesome. Get yourself your measurements. You can see I've been scribbling all over this, taking notes. Then we got to cut out our pattern pieces. Ooh, that's going to take a while. Oh man, it's definitely going to take a while. I am changing up a few things though to make it a little simpler. So you know how the skirt for the longer dress has these little layers of contrasting fabric? I'm going to skip that. Instead of, let's look at that. Instead of adding ruffles, I'm going to try to just take the base skirt panel and then extend it longer. So I still got that length, but I'm not sewing on the contrasting fabric. Cool idea, but that will make this a little bit more efficient for me. And then, since I'm not doing the button placket, I'm not going to have to make that piece. Ooh, sewing the bodice, pretty straightforward. We have some darts. Of course, this is the front, you know, originally with that opening for the button placket. So I'm going to instead make this one piece in the front of the bodice, and then in the back of the bodice, I'll be making it two pieces. I'm going to have to like cut it down the middle, so it's, you know, two pieces. And then I'm going to have to add a little extra fabric for seam allowance for sewing in ye old zipper. Okay, we're on to sleeves. We had a little bit of gathering because it is a little bit poofy, which is nice. Then we can add a little elastic in the base of our sleeve. We like this. Okay, the skirt is made of several pieces here. Sewing those together, sewing them to the bodice. See what I'm missing here? I'm not sewing on little loops for the buttons. That took a little while. It looked nice. I ended up using elastic for these loops the first time I did this, which really saved me. But I'm going to skip that. Of course, that means I'll have to insert a zipper, which you all know I love so much, but that's okay. Then we're going to have our skirt. I will need to add a neck facing, even though I'm not going to be doing it just like that. And oh my gosh, here they are telling us about the buttons. And of course we have to hem the skirt. Oi moi, oi, oi, oi. I think we got a lot of work ahead of us, guys, but this could be a lot of fun. I'm going to get to cutting out some pattern pieces, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then I'll show you the really nice fuzzy flannel I'm going to be working with to turn this from a spring dress into more of a cozy dress. I'll show you that in a minute. Well, I've been cutting out my pattern pieces, and the fabric we're going to be using is this lovely gray and red plaid over here, which I'll have to show you tomorrow when it's a little better light in here. But I've got some brown and white fabric. I got some brown paper over here. What's going on? Well, I did mention I like to modify things, right? Yeah. So the first time I made this pattern, I did a mock-up, and then when I got that to fit, I took it apart, and then I'm using that for my pattern pieces. A few of the modifications that I made, well, of course, I am using the front of the bodice. I had to remove the little extra seam allowance and then put this pattern piece on the fold. So this piece is going to open up double because remember, I'm not using that button placket after all. I also added a little extra, about 1/2 inch on the side seams, just to give me a little wiggle room because I am kind of halfway in between sizes. And then my shoulder area ends up being a size down from the pattern size that I use. So took that in a little bit. Oh, and I significantly raised the neckline from what was there. I think I raised it like 2 inches or so. It was quite scoopy on the pattern, so change that up. Okay, so then, hey, here's the back bodice. And of course, instead of making this one piece, we have to make it two. I added some seam allowance, though, where the zipper goes. I almost forgot and cut it out wrong. Grateful that I didn't. I'm adding a little extra on the side seams, just a little extra wiggle room. And of course, I did raise the neckline. Oh, also, I realized I need a couple little back darts because when I made my dress the last time, you guys might remember, it was a little gapey in the back. So I'm going to add some darts to see if that helps. I'm also going to have to make a new neck facing piece. So I will have to cut out that neck facing bit. I think I'm going to do that once I've sewn those darts, so then I can kind of guesstimate that neck facing size. Ooh, I got a neck facing for the front of the bodice. Of course, this one is cut on the fold. I kind of just traced the new neckline and made it about 3 inches wide, and yeah, I hope it works. We'll see. Oh, here's our sleeve. Man, this is a very poofy sleeve. I added about 3 inches of length just to try to give me a little bit more arm coverage. I could have made it longer. But then, oh hey, here are our skirt panels. Of course, one of the skirt panels, sorry, which one? One is cut on the fold and the other is in 2 pieces. Since I've changed things around, I'm going to be using what would be the front skirt in the back because I got a zipper I'm using. And then I'll use the one that's cut on the fold for the front. Let me get my pattern pieces here and show you a little bit of what I did. Okay, notice that original pattern piece laid on top of the brown wrapping paper piece. Let's notice a few differences. Okay, you guys knew that I was going to be extending that skirt piece because I didn't want to sew on the tiers of fabric. Okay, so we've got the length. But I also wanted to increase the width. The original pattern has the skirt sewn to the bodice without any skirt gathers. I'm all for tummy coverage, so I wanted to widen the skirt panels a little bit so that they could be gathered to the waistband. On this piece, I basically added, I think I added like 2 inches, 2.5 inches at the top, and then just tried to kind of carry that down into the pattern pieces. I had to narrow the flare at the bottom a little bit because it couldn't fit on my fabric, but just kind of lengthened it and widened it, tried to keep the curve of the skirt and the waistband. Hopefully I didn't mess it up too badly. We'll find out. And then of course with this guy, I added, oh gosh, maybe about 2.5 inches on the side there. This one's cut on the fold. So how much width did we really add? Gosh, maybe about 12, 13 inches on our skirt panels. But yeah, there is our skirt. So I think my next step is to do a little unpinning here. And I have to mark a whole bunch of markings on the bodice pieces and the sleeves. There are a whole bunch of darts to be sewn. I think those are going to be some of the next steps, but the lighting in here is pretty bad right now, so I think I will get as far as I can tonight and show you tomorrow where I'm at. Well, hello guys. It is a new day, and hey, we got some darts going on. We got some sleeves happening. Alright, well, here are our 2 back panels. Got a little dart near the neck. Got those darts down at the bottom. Here's our front bodice. Got those darts. And hey, we got some sleeves going on. This is our really big sleeve piece. We folded it in half, and we've got that little side edge sewn up. I've also got 2 rows of really big gathering stitches going across the top of the sleeves to make that super poof, because these sleeves are definitely very sleevey. Alright, well, this definitely took a little while. I love this fabric. Oh my gosh, super vibrant, gray, red, black flannel, super fuzzy. And it is super rainy today, so this is a very satisfying fabric to work with. I gotta say, it kind of moves a bit. It's really drapey and kind of floppy, like it almost stretches. Like it doesn't stretch, but almost does. So It doesn't want to keep pins in it or anything like that. So yeah, I'm working with it. I think our next step is to sew the bodice pieces together, gather the sleeves, and then get the sleeves into the armholes. Let's get going. Well, you guys, we have a lot of skirt to work with next. 3 panels. Of course, I'm going to be swapping where these panels go. I'm going to have this middle piece go in the front, and then the 2 side pieces are going to go in the back because I have the zipper in the back instead of having buttons in the front. So that's going to be a little different. I need to sew these pieces together. I need to gather the top of the skirt panels to match the bodice. That's also kind of an addition. I got to do that. I'm also trying to decide if I want to add some pockets in the side seams, somewhere like there and there. Pockets are not included in this pattern, so I'd have to dig out a pattern piece from another pattern, and I can't decide if I really want to do that or not. I know it would be worth it. I know you're screaming at the screen saying, add pockets, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I'm feeling lazy today or not. I'm going to get as far as I can this evening. I think it's just about time for me to call it a day. But I'll show you how far I've gotten and what I decided to do next time. Well, you guys, you can tell I've gotten a little progress done on this thing, and yes, I made the right choice. I put in the pockets. Took more time, but you know what? Trying to do that in the new year, take a little more time doing stuff the right way. Enjoy the process a little bit more if possible. Hustle when you need to, but if you can, take a little time. Do stuff the right way. Yay! So we have, of course, we're looking at the back of the skirt. You can tell there's kind of the opening of the panels there in the back. And we're looking at the back of the bodice. Hey, we have a bodice. Woo! Of course, that opening in the back is to allow that zipper to go in. Then I did finally, you can see these little curvy pieces here. I did finally cut out the neck facing pieces. I'm going to need to line those with a little bit of iron-on interfacing and then sew those together so they make basically a circle, and then sew those into the neckline. Of course, I'm doing that a little differently than the directions say because normally they would be doing a very different neck facing to facilitate buttons, but I'm not doing that. So, okay, we got a few more things to do here. We need to run lines of very big gathering stitches all along the top of the skirt so that we can gather it and sew it to the bodice. Again, that is a change from the pattern because the pattern doesn't have you gather the skirt. But we're doing that because, you know, Taco Tuesday. So we got to sew the skirt to the bodice. Then we got to iron the interfacing onto the interfacing pieces and sew those to the neckline. After that, you know, we're going to put some elastic, hopefully, in the bottom of the sleeves. We're going to have to hem the skirt. But hey, we are getting there. We're definitely looking closer to being a dress. So let's get going. Well, it's a new day again, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys saw last night, I finally got that neck facing in, and I only sewed it in wrong once. Yeah. Jeez. Right on. So, of course, I sewed it right sides together to the outside of the garment, and then flipped it under after, you know, trimming seam allowance and making some little clips and all those good things. Flipped it under and took a little bit of time trying to iron it flat. And then I did some top stitching around the top to try to hold that in place. I also did some little zigzag or some little stitches in the shoulder seam just to try to encourage this to lay flat-ish. I don't know. And of course did a little zigzag around the raw edge. And that's that neck facing. Speaking of zigzag stitches over raw edges, I've actually done that on most of the raw edges going around. You know, just the seam allowance here because, man, this flannel, it goes a little fray crazy. I don't have a serger, but I just used the zigzag stitch on my machine, and I've just been trying to finish off the edges as I go as much as possible. Takes some time, but I think it's worth it. Oh, hey. And I did, of course, run some really big gathering stitches all along the top of the skirt. And I've been kind of pulling on those loose ends of thread to shrink that fabric in a little bit, get me some ruffles. Next step, I think I gotta sew this skirt to the bodice. Then it'll actually kind of be a dress. I mean, of course, the back that we're looking at here is still open because I gotta close that up and put in a zipper. Did I mention how much I love zippers, how good I am at them? Yeah, I'm awesome. Gotta hem those sleeves, and of course, we'll have to hem the dress. I think I'm gonna have to trim the base a little bit because my DIY pattern pieces do not have the perfect hem. Surprise, surprise. Anyway, we got a little work to do, people, but it's starting to look like a dress. Well, we got that skirt sewn onto the bodice, and we are looking at the front of the dress. Looks a little funny. Let's take a look at the inside. Oh, wait. Okay. Stitched the skirt on. I actually did 2 lines of stitching, and then I zigzagged the edge. And then you can tell by all these pins, I folded the skirt facing down on the inside, ironed that, and then kind of put a whole bunch of pins all along that waistline. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of top stitching, just kind of like a little line like right here going zzz, just to kind of hold that seam down, or raw edge, or I don't know, this bit to hold it downwards on the inside. And then we need to close up this dress. It's gonna be zipper time, you guys. And you know I'm not the hugest aficionado of zippers, so I'm sure it'll be fun. I've got to pin these big open this big hole down the back of the dress. Got to pin that, sew it up, and of course the section where the zipper is going to be, I'm going to do some really big stitches so I can take that seam out at that part. Then I got to pin the zipper on and sew it, and yeah. I will show you what I'm working on, but I will always link you to some of the videos I use to help me feel a little more confident about sewing zippers. I will put those in the video description as well. Wish me luck. See you on the other side. I survived the zipper! Yes! And we have a dress! Amazing. Okay, I'm not gonna say this was perfect. It's not perfect. Don't look too close. But it's okay. We didn't have any disasters. I just took it slow and steady. We did it. Okay, so we got a couple more things to do on this dress. I'll tell you, this one has been taking me a little bit of time, but I've just been chipping away at it as I had, like, you know, weekend time over the last several weeks here. Just chipping away, taking my time. It's been nice, actually. It's been kind of a satisfying project to just plug away at. Love the fabric. It's raining outside anyway, so, you know, might as well make a dress. I do have a couple things I need to work on. Remember how I added extra width to the skirt so that I could gather it to the bodice? I added more fabric to the back panels than I did to the front. So the back is more gathered, and the front is not gathered very much at all. So that's something I want to fix in future. It doesn't really bug me that it's more gathered in the back. I actually think it's kind of cool. It's a little old-fashioned-y. But that also means that the back is a little heavier because it's got more fabric. So I need to fix that in my pattern in future. I also added a little bit of extra fabric on the side seams. I think I added about 1/2 inch to each pattern piece, so that would make like 1 inch on each side. I didn't need to do that. It looks a little big. It looks a little poofy. So note to self. Another thing, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the back feels really wide. I mean, it doesn't look super weird on, but the back feels kind of big. And again, it could be because I have a lot of extra fabric back there and it's kind of dragging the back down a little bit. Or I was hoping that, you know, when I made the back pieces, I had to add seam allowance for the zipper and stuff. I was thinking maybe I added a little too much. I didn't think I did. but I'm not sure exactly what happened. It does feel a little big in the back, and I definitely didn't need the extra room under the arms. So, yeah, live and learn. I'm actually kind of enjoying it being a little bit boxy, you know, because it's flannel, you want to be comfy, right? I think one thing I am going to do, though, on the inside is sew a little bit of elastic just kind of into the join of the bodice to the skirt, you know, this seam right here. I think I'll like put a little thin elastic, stitch that in there to just kind of scrunch it a little bit. And then it'll be a little stretchy too, which should be really comfy to wear. So I think I'm just going to do that on the inside and scrunch that in a little bit. I also have a little extra fabric, so, you know, if in doubt, make a belt. So, those are two things that I'm going to be working on to fix my pattern and also just to kind of correct a little bit on the dress. I do have a couple more things I got to do, though. I got to hem the sleeves. I actually measured these, and they're actually a pretty good length, so I'm going to try to not use up too much of this fabric. I'm going to fold under a narrow hem and iron it, and then I'm going to fold under a narrow little tube and stitch that down, leaving a gap so I can insert some thin 1/4 inch elastic into that and scrunch those sleeves up so they're a little poofy. That should be nice. And then, of course, we need to hem the skirt. I made it a little too long, as usual, but I mean, hey, that's better than too short, right? And of course, I'll just be doing a basic rolled hem. Roll it, stitch it. What? Okay, guys, I have some more work to do, but we're getting close. Hey, by the way, if you get behind making your own clothes, taking the time, enjoying the process, having fun, consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing for more plaid flannelly goodness from Partners in Craft. Alright, you guys, I'll show you how this goes and what she looks like when we're done.